right in that partition of the ecosystem. By that partition, I mean sort of pre-incubation. How do you get the right people mashed up together around the right ideas to not just delta by 10 or 20 or 30%, but by much more than that. So you'll be hearing much more about that very soon. Congrats to the teams. Congrats to the STEP leaders here. And thanks again for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich, for your words. So now we're gonna start. Next slide, please, Francia. So we're gonna start, please, with the main event of the night. So meet the stars of the show. There's 10 startups. We are so proud of you guys that in spite of this unusual conditions you have endured, and you have shown your resilience and reached to this point. So with no further words, let's start with smart cohorts. So David, go ahead.
Hi. Oh, it says disabled person share. Could you enable the screen share so we can pull up our perfect? Thank you. So greetings from Honolulu. This is not a fake backdrop. This is our real backdrop here. Great. So we're Smart Cohort. I'm David Capelli, co-founder with Carla Mays. We are part of the Citrus Foundry currently. Carla's a Berkeley Haas alum, and we just finished our Foreign Fund Fellowship. So we are here in Honolulu, and we're here on a mission to help state governments and federal government reduce loss of life from disasters. So before COVID-19, hundreds of thousands of people have died or lost their homes from hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, you name it. Now we're seeing during COVID-19, over 70,000 Americans have died. We're on a mission to reduce loss of life. So what's the current problem? There's a big problem. State emergency management agencies currently don't have good technology. They rely on a dashboard called Web EOC, or Web Emergency Operations Center, that's really static. It's not responsive. It doesn't track, it only tracks assets, but not critical assets. So COVID-19 is really confirming the work that we've seen here in Hawaii for the last 2 months, that there needs to be real-time management of critical assets, such as food, money, technology, equipment, such as PPE, and personnel. So what's the solution? What's the solution? So this is the enterprise cloud platform that would manage assets from emergency management agencies in real time. So this would be able to manage different technology, money, resource and equipment, and key personnel across all the different departments in the emergency management structure, and then across different agencies, and then would tie in with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, private-public partnerships, resources. So a little bit about the team. Again, co-founder David Capelli and Carla Mays. We've been doing this deeply for 10 years in emergency management and government. Our team comes from a government and public administration background. As you see on the right, Carla's representing her Cal swag at the Federal Emergency Management FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C. And on the left, that's us in San Juan, Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria at one of the community emergency operations centers. We've been working together for over 5 years and have spanned the globe from San Francisco to Singapore to Miami. So like I said, we've been here in Hawaii for the last 2 months. The Lieutenant Governor here, Dr. Green, connected us to the State of Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, or HIEMA, with their medical ops team. And we've been working on the ground for the last 2 months, building a rapid response capacity and ramping up capacity. So what's the addressable market for this? This is really big. Selling to government emergency management agencies is both renewable and increasing market because it's government dollars. So the total addressable market for emergency management in the GovTech space is over $100 billion annually. we're looking at addressing the $100 million annual market when it comes to asset management and working with the private public partnerships consortium from FEMA. And we're looking at, with the investment that we'll talk about, a $20 million annual contract and market opportunity. So right now we're structured as a 501c3 research fiscally sponsored project that's raised over $1.2 million for research and rapid response capacity building since 2017. So 3 big companies that are noteworthy are FedEx, both their headquarters, the Latin American division, and the Sustainable Transportation division, the Port Miami Tunnel, and WSP, which is one of the largest infrastructure and civil engineering firms. So what we're looking at now is raising $2.5 million to start a new C corporation. The C corporation would be involved with doing initial product development and all tech transfer and rapid deployment over the next 18 months. During this time, we hope to secure a general counsel, a technical and political advisory board, and then be able to work and secure a federal contract to build out a minimal viable product and work deeply with an emergency management agency. So our current pending funding, we applied recently, just last week, to the HAAS-C grant of $5K, the Citrus Health grant of $50K, and are currently in the process of applying to the NSF COVID-19 Rapid Response Grant for $200K to support continuing work. So we're really grateful that Wei has been our mentor for this opportunity, and we look forward to deep collaboration on solving this critical need. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Judges?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
What exactly do you do? That wasn't that clear. Tell me the exact service you or product you have.
So what we currently do is we do rapid capacity building. So we actually go and do exactly what we've developed our platform to do, is that we get on the ground, we assess the situation very quickly, find out where all the moving assets are and what all the funding is. And we're constantly taking phone calls and putting all this stuff into Web EOC and working on these platforms to be able to get assets moving, whether it's first responders, nurses, PPE, whatever it is, we're getting it, finding out where those folks and personnel are. With this platform, you don't have to do that anymore. They can rapidly put that information in themselves, and we'll be able to get that real-time access to that data, which means that there's not a need for teams of us, thousands and thousands of people from FEMA and other agencies to have to come into a situation and then be loads behind the 8 ball in trying to reconstruct this from scratch.
Hi, this is Cal Deutsch. I do have a question. So your platform will be as good as the data that's put in. So, I mean, garbage in, garbage out. In times of crisis, I don't know if inventory management will be at the priority, or if people will start pulling things out and then maybe never restore the data. How do you just ensure the quality control of just inventory management over time?
So what we do is we work at the incident command. And so right now, what most folks don't know or understand the backbone of FEMA. And what we're hoping to do is demystify that, because it's a very command and control. You can't just put anything into or take it out. It's, we start off with briefings every morning. There's a structure. What we're doing is being able to put that structure into a platform so that you're being able to get those incident commanders to load that stuff in. We're understanding where things are. The military does it already. So anytime there's battlefield, what we're building this based on is what has been battle tested. And only thing we're doing is now bringing it to bring it into the federal emergency management and to those departments, and getting that technology that already exists back to the ground so that we can be able to do this, and we don't have to do it, just ad hoc like we're doing it now.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Richard from BAM Ventures. Quick question for you. So is your customer the federal government, or are you selling to local agencies?
It's both. So one end it's the federal emergency management and other agencies that would have to plug into this, and then it is a localized regional your emergency management organizations, so that can plug into web, and it goes along with using it with web EOC, so it makes it more dynamic, but it plugs into what they've already got going.
So can the buying decision be made at a local level, or it has to be integrated with the federal government? So it almost is, you have to have a coalition of entities that are going to plug into this, or can you build it piecemeal?
Well, what we're looking at is a white label product. So one is the very high level, because the very high level product, and then one that can be for rural and smaller municipalities, because we understand that not all municipalities have the same buying ability, and they also have less staff. So we're here in Honolulu at where we're at with Haima. They've got a huge staff. It plugs in with DOD and everything else. With other municipalities like what we were dealing with in Florida and in Puerto Rico, it's got to be a lot smaller and more nimble.
All right, Smart Gopher, thank you so much. Time's up. Auto-tune, you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, just a second. Let me pull this up. Can you see the presentation?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So the online ticketing industry sees about $12 billion in annual revenue globally, but the secondary market alone generates $15 billion in revenue, all of which goes to market makers and scalpers who treat tickets like a financial asset. This has created serious financial inclusion and access issues, especially for music fans, because scalping bots basically clog the primary market. But what it does show is that people are willing to pay more than face value for a ticket. So for an industry hit particularly hard by the pandemic, we see an opportunity to better align the market simply by changing the rules of the game. Auto-tune is a closed ticket issuing platform that allows performers to monetize the event value realized in the secondary market. Our blockchain-enabled tickets would facilitate a secure marketplace for issuers, buyers, and sellers to interact, and for event organizers to control attendance and collect valuable customer data. But it's our proprietary secondary market mechanism that enables us to capture the full resale value when tickets are transferred between consumers. So in this scenario, ticket buyers can't make a profit, but doing so effectively eliminates any market speculation and ensures that the only people that are buying tickets that are people who truly just want to just go and enjoy the show. Even better, it allows us to kick back that revenue back to artists who can now benefit from their talents. So how does it work? When an event issues its tickets through Auto-tune, ticket buyers in the primary market are granted an option for liquidity. If the event sells out and the buyer can no longer attend, that ticket can be put up for auction on Auto-tune's platform. That way, when the ticket's resold, the seller recoups all of their costs. And any incremental value won from the auction goes back to the artists, the venues, and the event organizers. Now, we see blockchain as the ideal way to power this platform. It's a secure central counterparty, so it can verify ticket ownership and authorize a safe transfer of assets. It gives artists more trusted access to sales data, and it would address recent issues from the current pandemic by enabling us to identify who the exact ticket holder is at the moment. So that verifies entry for both in-person and virtual events, and it allows us to refund them in full if an event is canceled. While this is a highly competitive market characterized by several key incumbents, Auto-tune is the only player that monetizes resale value. We're solving other huge gaps in the current product offerings as well, specifically fee transparency and fraud protection, which are customers' biggest pain points. And to our advantage, the biggest players are struggling the most because of the pandemic, because they're so vertically integrated and reliant on business as usual. Now, the traditional go-to-market strategy for this industry is to start with independently owned venues in artist-friendly cities. But realistically, it's going to be 12 to 18 months until any venue is operating at full capacity. So we believe that we're uniquely focused to first target virtual events and small capacity in-person events. And so that doesn't need to just be music. That can be yoga, fitness, masterclass type events, or even MBA parties. And because now events of all sizes will run into a supply shortage, we don't need a Taylor Swift to prove our value. We can actually start building advocacy at a grassroots level, which is why we're pitching this to beta testers as a mechanism, not just to fight ticket fraud and scalpers, but for attendance control and a way for performing arts and individuals to better monetize their talents in a life during and after COVID. AutoTune will charge a minimal transaction fee for ticket buyers, but we're going to use a management fee model and take a percentage of the revenue that gets kicked back. And we also plan to monetize the demand and sales data. So prior to starting my MBA here at Haas, I spent 7 years at Bank of America doing corporate venture capital, investing in early stage strategic enterprise software, mainly in payments and capital markets. And I'm joined by my two brothers, Jeji, who's driving our go-to-market strategy, and Andrew, who's building our MVP. And I'm also joined by two fellow Haas classmates, Ram, who's managing our product development, and Charlie assisting on finance and business development. And last but not least, we are honored to have Steve Tadelis as our trusted advisor in supporting our market mechanism with proven economic theory. So thank you so much for your time. We're happy to take any questions you might have.
Hi, Alex. Kira here from B Partners. I was wondering how you fare against competition within blockchain. Actually, one of our portfolio companies named Tari is doing pretty much the exact same thing as you guys.
Yeah, we actually look to those as maybe potential partners, but they don't have the secondary market mechanism. So we're in the process of filing a provisional patent for the secondary market piece of things. There's many entrants in this market. And we see that the base technology is highly commoditized, and we have the talent and resources to build the ticket issuing at a base level and the auction process here with us. And so we can do that and start building advocacy and marketing our product while we get the resources we need to build the blockchain portion or partner, but preferably hire someone full-time to help us develop it.
Got it. Definitely look into them. I think they're trying to offer the same thing.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I understand, is this a permissioned or a permissionless blockchain application?
It would be permissioned. It would have to be closed so that we can verify identities.
And will you all be the central node for that, or will other parties also be providing the permission level?
So
Ram,
I'll take that question. So we'll be the central node. And typically the plan is to build it on AWS blockchain network for now. And then potentially, as Alex mentioned, potentially look out for partners who can explore other options.
Great, thanks.
Thanks.
Can you explain a little more why you need the blockchain for this?
We don't need it, but we see it as really just the preferable way for transferring these assets, because in addition to the whole scalping issue, ticket fraud is a really big issue in terms of verifying like who is the actual owner of the ticket. One of the things that StubHub is getting in trouble for now is that you have people that take screenshots of PDFs and you can just sell those off. And so when you keep everything closed in a permissioned environment, you can help prevent a lot of those issues. And then I think the last thing is that we have three key stakeholders. We have the consumers, but we also have the venues that would be using the ones actually employing the platform. And then we also have the artists. And so it's trusted data for the artists to see exactly like what their demand data is, rather than the venue just holding all of that to themselves.
All right, time's up. Thank you, Tatune. So clear campaign, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So hi everyone, my name is Ritvik Iyer. I'm one of the co-founders of Clear Campaign, and we specialize in data-driven outreach for political campaigns. So a little bit more about us. What we offer is automated outreach services to political campaigns that makes it easy for them to partner with organizations in their community, as well as connect with voters to grow their campaigns fast and effectively. So we focus on three pillars. One is automating the outreach process. The second is expanding campaigns within communities and improving their networks. And third, offer strategic political services. So what's the problem in target market? Basically, what we've noticed is that over the last decade, the cost of running campaigns has skyrocketed. In just 2016 alone, the average winning House candidate spent over $1.6 million on elections. And this poses a huge financial burden for grassroots campaigns trying to run out of their communities. What we've also seen over the last 5 years is the fact that the growth in digital political spending has increased by 57%. So these two things in common mean that grassroots campaigns need affordable technology-based solutions to transition their campaigns to the digital media of the 21st century, as well as using technology to reach out to potential voters and form those strategic partnerships. So what we've built is a simple analytics tool that candidates can use to connect with recommended organizations. So we built a specialized recommendation system that recommends candidates based on their policy platforms, different organizations in their community to reach out to. And this allows them to spread word about their campaign to those organizations and get endorsements, as well as get potential donors for the campaigns. Secondly, we focus on social media analytics to track metrics on campaign pages. And last but not least, we also work with sending automated messages to voters to spread the reach of their campaigns within their communities. So in terms of a competition, we believe we're uniquely positioned, especially with COVID-19 and the fact that these campaigns have to transition to digital for the first time because they don't have the ability to kind of have rallies or knock on doors. We believe we're uniquely positioned because we're targeting these grassroots campaigns. A lot of times our competition, they target these national campaigns. They have tons of money, tons of donors, but we're targeting those smaller scale campaigns who haven't had technology to use for the first time. We also offer a full suite of analytic services from social media to the recommendation system, which allows them to gain access to all the technology that their competitors might have, but at a lower price point. So now I'd like to transition over to my partner, Priyanka, who's going to talk more about the business aspect.
Thanks, Rithvik. Hi, my name is Priyanka. I'm one of the co-founders. And just a quick background on our team. I'm an MBA from Berkeley Haas, and prior to Berkeley, I worked in business strategy for a web-based startup that was acquired in 2015. On our team, we have some really talented Berkeley undergraduate students who are data scientists as well as engineers. And together as a team, we have experience working and volunteering for political campaigns where we were able to draw upon those experiences to build out our product. We built a working MVP and we had our first user within 6 weeks. We're in talks with many different politicians to set them up on the platform, and we also have a few demos scheduled in the coming weeks. Based on survey and interview feedback, we would really like to use a subscription-based model. For reference, one of our competitors charges about $500 a month and only has a third of the features that we have. We're also looking at licensing. Using our MVP, I personally was able to find organizations that matched my own personal interests, and we realized that this could actually be used as a matching algorithm. We're thinking about using it for organizations to match with nonprofits, and we were advised to consider licensing it to consulting groups as well. We'd like to raise $250,000 for 5% at a $5 million cap, and we'd like to hire some salespeople and an engineer just to ramp up and grow a little bit faster. We're looking for a strategic partner and in relationship management and data analytics. And thank you so much for listening, and we'd love to answer any of your questions.
I think you went on the slide where you were talking about your MVP and your pilot. I think there might have been some KPIs or some data related to the pilot. Would you be able to go back to that slide and just talk a little about sort of some highlights of what you've already gotten out of the pilot?
Yeah, for sure. Let me go back to that slide real quick. Yeah, so can you see it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, so I'll go through a few things. First, through our customer interviews, we saw that a lot of our potential customers really valued the fact that they wanted to outreach the maximum possible in their community. So once we deployed our MVP, we tried to give it to many potential users. So 25 users over a 2-week trial period. And we tried to go through different versions of the product using some A/B testing, trying to see what was good, what was bad. We found that 80% of our users actually found our product really easy to use. Most of these users weren't really considered themselves technologically savvy. So they were able to get a sense of how they could use social media to boost their campaigns.
And you define users as people that are with the particular campaign. So it's the end user of the SaaS product.
That's correct. Yes.
So can you talk a little bit more about what exactly you've built and what the use case would be?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So what we've built is right now, if you're a campaigner, you can use our product. We're offering right now in our MVP, we have 3 key features. The first feature is a recommendation algorithm. So if I'm a campaigner, I have a policy platform, and all I have to do is enter that information to my website, and that's able to generate recommendations for what organizations to partner with in your community. And you can use that information to reach out to those organizations, spread word about your campaign, as well as potentially get donors. The second feature we've built out is a social media metrics tracking platform, which allows you to connect to your campaign pages and tracks key metrics that they can use to make actionable decisions. And the last part is we've built a social media chat bot where you're able to connect with social media users and spread word about your campaign.
All right, time's up. Thank you so much. We'll continue with Sherpa.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Hi, can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yep, nice. There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Lou, and I was raised by my lovely mother, an immigrant who learned English around the same time I did. There were things she wasn't able to teach me that I also wasn't picking up in school. So we're Sherpa, and our vision is to empower students anywhere to have essential life skills. So over the course of 160 customer interviews, we found that today's schools just aren't preparing kids for the real world. Parents are concerned their children aren't learning practical life skills that'll be useful in the long term. And kids don't really see the connection between abstract academic concept and real world careers. And Sherpa addresses both of these issues. So we offer life skills coaching that is personalized to students. We're starting with 3 tracks that were the most requested based on our customer interviews. And those are personal finance, digital literacy, and communications. In each of these tracks, students will master valuable life skills while also seeing how academic concepts translate to the real world. For example, during personal finance, members will learn about compound interest and why you'll be a lot richer if you start investing younger as opposed to waiting. In terms of how it works, students select which 6-week program they want to register for. From there, we'll place them in cohorts of 12 with similar aged kids. The live sessions are led virtually. And at the end of the program, students have the option of staying with their cohort to the next level of the track, or they can decide to start a new track altogether. Those who complete the entirety of the program are considered Sherpa grads. And I'll turn it over to Sharanya.
Hi, everyone. So when we evaluated the market size, we looked at the current US extracurricular spending, and specifically in the middle school and high school demographic, it comes to $430 million as our target revenue potential. But this is growing because virtual teaching has become online, has become mainstream, especially given COVID. But a lot of the players who exist due to the COVID scenario right now are academic institutions like schools, etc., which will tend to go offline once again when they open up. But this particular climate is giving us a lot of valuable insights from both parents and children with respect to what is really working for them. That's what we are incorporating in our business model. In the competitor spectrum, we are competing with the likes of Khan Academy, Coursera, etc. But we have key differentiation in that our entire program offers live instruction tailored to the student cohort. Our curriculum also incorporates social emotional development skills, and we also bring in real-world career professionals as guest speakers to give students that perspective. Sherpa started as part of StEP 9 weeks ago, and we have achieved tremendous traction since then. We have had over 160 plus customer interviews, and we have launched a 1-hour pilot version of our full-length program to potential customers. Every one of our pilot users have signed up for our full-length cohort launching in June. Alongside, we are also having conversations to build strategic partnerships because we see this as actually being our customer feeders. We are talking to after-school coaching programs and academic tutors and nonprofits, basically to bring in customers early on, because we believe a customer acquisition strategy is key for us to scale and succeed. Over the next 6 months, we hope to quadruple both our student population as well as the number of partner organizations we pair up with. Sherpa is powered by a really passionate team of Haas MBAs, but besides being MBAs, together we bring in decades of experience across diverse skills, such as youth counseling, project management, software development, strategy, operations, and business development. And we are really excited to grow this big time. And with that, we are Sherpa, and thank you for your time. You can answer questions now.
Thank you, Sherpa. Judges?
Hi. What is the age of the student that you see using Sherpa? And how much would they pay on a monthly basis?
So this is primarily tailored to middle school and high school kids, because that's where we see it actually being a differentiator. That's when they're probably interested in real world skills, at least based on the customer interviews we've had. And with respect to how much, this is going to be the actual 6-week program is going to cost them $175. And this is based on what we see as completing extracurriculars and what online activities provide. And they can actually go into either advanced tracks or they can go to a differing track. But each track will cost them $175 over 6 weeks.
Hi there. I was wondering how you are imagining keeping Sherpa grads in your system, and how you're making offers to them, perhaps if they were to complete those 3 programs. So what might be on the product roadmap to carry someone through their life cycle?
Yeah,
So
yep.
Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, so right now the 3 most popular subjects we saw were personal finance, communications, and digital literacy. And the idea is like we're launching personal finance in a few weeks, so that'll be personal finance level 1. And so we'll then offer a level 2 and a level 3 the examples and the content will get more difficult as somebody progresses. So that's the stickiness. We're open to exploring other subject matters, but that's kind of the thinking is we have these 3 to start, and within those 3, there'll be 3 levels of certification.
I have a question. It wasn't entirely clear to me how you're different. Can you go back to your competitive slide?
Sure. So Khan Academy or Coursera or Udemy basically is passive online streaming. What we do is we have a live teacher who's actually actively teaching a student cohort. So it's basically a virtual classroom setting. So there is live interaction amongst the students as a cohort as well. And we have a live teacher who's actually speaking to them.
Yep, and to add to that, Coursera and Udemy may offer similar content, but Khan Academy really focuses on K-12 education. So we see them almost replacing traditional public school teachers in the long term as that becomes the model for education. So we don't see them as a huge competitor in subject matter. And to Sharanya's point, Coursera and Udemy are really on-demand videos like Netflix, and we don't think they'd want to go into the model of live instruction.
They don't cater to kids either.
Yeah.
Okay. And the pilot projects that you have starting, are any of those paid?
The one which is, go ahead.
No, go ahead, you got it.
The one which is launching in June, we are starting that as a very first cohort. We are starting it at a price of $20 for the 6 week, just because we are looking at that being the basis for us to learn and to really refine our program structure. But yeah, all the parents are aware that that is like the initial price, and we are looking at building that up further.
I think it's going to be very important for you to make sure your financials and your projections are done correctly, because since it's predicated on having a teacher manage a small classroom of online students,
yes,
who are paying $175 for 6 weeks of courses, I'm wondering if the economics even work out for you, right? Like, again, that's more just doing back of the math envelope in terms of what you need to pay to get someone who's somewhat pedigreed or is an authority to speak to this. You want to limit the size of the classrooms, right? So, but I'd love to follow up and help work through those numbers, but that would be probably my first question I have about this business.
Thank you very much. Time's up. Mela goes next. All right.
Wouldn't it be great if all your favorite online brands came together in a single store in your very own neighborhood? Introducing Mela. Mela is a new type of retail experience that connects online brands to their offline communities. With the recent rise of e-commerce, cities are increasingly plagued with a ton of empty ground floor retail spaces. But at the same time, the now crowded almost $17 billion direct-to-consumer market is continuing to grow at an upwards of 25% year over year. That's twice as fast as the e-commerce market. The new trend in the industry is for successful online brands such as Warby Parker and Allbirds is to ultimately move offline. Look, online brands have low barriers to entry, they control their own stories, and they scale very quickly. But at around the $10 million revenue mark, scaling becomes very challenging in the rather noisy online world, forcing brands to look for offline ways to really differentiate themselves. The process of opening a retail store, though, it's not only expensive, but it's an extremely tedious, multi-step process requiring both retailing and real estate expertise that most D2C brands just lack. Kyle Rains, a real estate developer, Aidan Menken, an ex-finance manager from Walmart, and me, Nitya Ratnam, a commercial architect, are bringing together our years of retail and real estate experience to solve exactly this problem. Our vision for Mela is a local, shared, physical storefront for online retailers to either A/B test a new product or simply explore the physical retailing format before committing to a flagship store. Let me explain all this with a quick scenario. Say Unspun, this cool new tailor-made jeans company, were to approach Mela. We would help Unspun identify the right neighborhood, set them up with curated move-in ready spot from anywhere between 20 and 600 square feet to next to 10 to 12 brands of similar audience that drive traffic, and really help them create an authentic experience for their customers to test their novel 3D scanning technology for a flexible period of 3 to 6 months. All this with a single fee and a quick onboarding process. While Mela would profit from the rent, the long-term value in the model is the services that Mela would provide, such as branding, merchandising, launch consulting, and performance reporting. Say that the master lease for our store in SF was $75 per square foot. We would sublease for almost thrice as much as at $225 per square foot, but with a lot more duration flexibility than traditional leases can offer, and with hassle-free move-in ready spaces on top of it. Additionally, our bundle of services would range anywhere from $2,000 to $7,500 per month. And over time, we see immense future potential in online sales and retail analytics. With over 22,000 brands in the growing D2C space, we are initially targeting roughly 2,000 novel and experiential retail brands. Based on retail corridor densities and a tiered city methodology, we plan to scale to roughly 200 stores across the country to achieve a serviceable obtainable market of $300 million. In the short term, Mela is the Shopify of storefronts, establishing us as the go-to online to offline experts. But in the long term, Mela will be the one brand conscious omni-channel solution that caters to retailers that really want to tell their stories. By unifying this disjointed industry of expertise and services, we hope to build a database of granular consumer insights and seamlessly integrate e-commerce with physical retailing. Through Mela, we want to democratize retail, and we want to bring together small businesses and their communities, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you, and we'd love to take questions.
Thank you, Mela. Judges?
What's your go-to-market plan to scale up relationships with customers?
Yeah, so in the immediate term, that's actually changed slightly with COVID. Obviously, that's thrown a wrench in the retail world. So in the immediate term, we really want to focus on what we're passionate about and why we're starting this in the first place, which is community. I'm a real estate developer, and I've spent my entire career worrying about how to tailor the built environment for for consumers and how to build community. And I think retail, there's an awesome chance to do that. In the immediate term, I think we can have big impacts on retailers that are really struggling during COVID that don't have a great online presence and a way to really reach their customers. It's not something we're planning originally on doing right now, but we plan on reaching out to local retailers, understanding their needs, building this website, and really building that trust so that after COVID, those relationships are set to then move into our MVP, which we want to test some hypotheses for about 4 months before opening our first store.
Can you tell us about the profile of consumers you're looking to target, and hence what profile of D2C brands you're looking to cluster together?
The profile of what was the first part?
Consumers. So what's the profile of the consumers?
Yeah, so I think the great part about our model, which is different from our competitors, is we're really tailoring the store to the neighborhood. So we're taking our real estate approach to really understand what an individual neighborhood character really is and what makes it unique. So a store in the Mission versus the Marina is going to look very different in the design, but also in the brands that are in that store. So we're going to take time to understand what the brands are trying to do in terms of targeting consumers and who their target customers are, and then also understand the real estate side and really be a matching service so that we can optimize these stores and put the right brands in the right places and put the right consumers in the right places.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't talk more about COVID, at least in the initial pitch. So can you talk more about how you're thinking about it? I mean, this is kind of a big deal.
Sure. Yeah, it's a huge deal. Yeah, we were hoping to address it in the questions because we knew it would come up. So obviously, opening a store right now is impossible. So I think developing those relationships so that they're set after COVID is really critical, and earning that trust. We've talked to a lot of brands that actually are hoping to look more towards this type of model in the future, including brands that already have their own stores, just because it's a way to de-risk retail. I mean, you're an end-to-end solution for these retailers. And so being able to test out a new neighborhood or test out a new market, or really understand what synergies there are between you and some of your competitors or complement brands, I think it's super valuable, and they see it as being even more valuable post-COVID. So once shelter in place lifts, we really want to hit the ground running with those relationships.
We have time for a question.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now we go with Bree to you.
Share screen. Let's see. All right, can you see my screen? All right, perfect. So my name is Ryan, and our company is Brew to You. So I have a friend in Michigan who keeps bragging about Bell's Two-Hearted Ale, which is a craft beer that has won numerous awards. Unfortunately, I'm stuck here in California, and I've gone to Bevmo, bars, tap rooms, and I still can't find it anywhere. So as a beer enthusiast, I've always wondered, why can't I get beer delivered to me from another state? So what we found is that complicated interstate commerce, alcohol, and taxing laws are large deterrents for breweries to approach direct-to-consumer sales. Thus, breweries are stuck with brick-and-mortar sales channels where most of them can't afford the expensive shelving fees or high margins taken by both distributors and retailers. Therefore, millions of beer enthusiasts like myself are unable to access the best beers. Our solution is an online marketplace that expands the geographic availability for breweries and consumers. Consumers would purchase beer from us. The order is then fulfilled by the brewery, where we would take ownership of the beer at their location. Then the brewery would drop ship the beer to the consumer. Since we would be the seller of record, we would be responsible for the interstate taxes, licenses, permits, etc. This marketplace design enables breweries to reach consumers outside their typical scope of business and provides beer enthusiasts with opportunities to drink beer that they wouldn't normally have access to. Although interstate direct-to-consumer alcohol sales have been shackled in the past, recent Supreme Court cases and COVID-19 have opened the doors for our company to thrive. In particular, COVID-19 has been a lesson to all businesses that it's essential to have an e-commerce presence, even for breweries. And from talking to industry professionals, breweries have been so desperate for digital sales that they've actually attempted rudimentary online stores on their own websites where the brewers themselves make the deliveries within their local areas. This is obviously unsustainable for them. And as you can see from the market size, there is a huge opportunity to bring digital sales to the brewing industry. And interestingly, while overall beer sales have slightly dropped in 2019, craft beer sales have actually increased by 6%. And although seltzer had an impact on the overall beer market, it's more of a substitute for your lighter mainstream beers like your Budweisers or Coors, as opposed to craft beers. In fact, we actually see seltzer as a potential opportunity since the process to make it is very similar to brewing beer, and some craft breweries have actually already started making craft seltzer. Currently, there are many ways for breweries to sell beer, but they all have their drawbacks. Some of them are great for the consumer in terms of beer selection, but are burdensome for the breweries in terms of supply chain costs or legal paperwork. Others help breweries expand their reach and sell large volumes, but result in limited options for consumers. Brew2You expands the craft beer market for both breweries and consumers without adding tax and administrative burdens. With the extra value we'll be bringing to both breweries and consumers, Brew2You will have three main revenue streams. First, we'll have a commission per transaction, a subscription for breweries to be on our marketplace, and sponsored placements within our marketplace. Our team consists of Matt, who is our tech guru, Steve, who consults companies looking to implement new technologies, and I'm a tax consultant who has helped wineries with direct-to-consumer sales. We are Brew2You. Cheers.
Thank you. Judges?
Could you elaborate a little on sort of just the unit economics or the margins, like for a 6-pack of beer, how much goes to the brewery? Are you buying it at wholesale? Are you selling it at retail? And what kind of margins do you think you expect?
Mm-hmm. Steve, do you want to go into the numbers? So in terms of if we're going to be wholesale or retailer, we would be drop shipping the beer directly from the brewery to the consumer. So what we're looking at is a potential margin of about 20 to 15%, depending on the contract with the brewery and if we have an exclusive rights agreement with them.
Is that a gross or a net margin?
So that will be a gross margin at first. We're still looking at the numbers, but we also have the subscription for the breweries to be on our marketplace. In addition, similar to like Yelp and Google, breweries can actually pay us a placement fee for them to be placed in a better spot within the marketplace.
Yeah, and if you'd like, Ryan, I can jump into a little bit of the overall market numbers too. From the craft beer market that Ryan showed earlier, we think it's reasonable to assume that beer enthusiasts may buy 10 to 15% of their craft beer outside of their local area. And if we're assuming a 20% transaction commission, that leaves us with a market size ranging anywhere from $400 million to $1 billion. And then, if we can take 20% of that market, that's anywhere between 80 million to 200 million in annual sales for Brew2You. And that's even before taking into consideration subscriptions, sponsored placements. But of course, we'll be getting much more than that 20% market share.
I actually have
a question. What do you got that's defensible that you're doing that nobody else could do, or would it be a branding or market share move?
So right now it would be a branding issue. Branding play. We would be the go-to-market place for breweries to sell their beer directly to consumers. And we've seen with other competitors on our competition slide, some of the offerings that they provide are not quite what consumers want. So for beer clubs, I personally have gotten a beer club where it just wasn't great beer. It was pretty mediocre. And the consumers, we talked about that the same way. For BevMo and some of these other consumers, they provide some options, but they don't give as many options as consumers would like.
What is the solution that you're solving for? I'm an investor in a beer brand, and there are some rules about them delivering into states, right? So I don't necessarily know if because you're the buyer of record, you can get around shipping beer into states that you're not a registered seller in, right? So what exactly is someone paying you for your service?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So like you said, the permits, the ABC permits, the sales tax permits, the business licenses, all very important for this type of business. So what we would do is we would have these permits in all of the locations where we would have breweries and consumers, so that we would be able to seamlessly ship interstate.
All right, time's up. Thank you so much. Dorian.
All right, can you hear me? Okay, great. So hello everyone, I'm Leo, and together with Dorian, we are the co-founder of Ardole, a clean do-it-yourself beauty brand. So while I'm pitching, Dorian will actually be making its own DIY cosmetics. So we're both from France, and back there, the cosmetic industry is regulated, which means that we have more than 1.4 thousand chemicals that are banned from cosmetic use. Here in the US, there are only 9. So this lack of regulation and the complexity of the industry comes with a whole set of problems for our customers. The first thing is people don't know what's good for their skin, so they struggle to find the product that works for them. They spend a lot of time, effort, and put their skin at risk every time they try a new product. The second problem is that the lack of transparency makes it really hard for a customer to read and understand what they actually put in on the skin. So at Ardole, we tackled this challenge by providing the highest level of transparency through do-it-yourself cosmetics. So we provide skincare kits of organic and natural ingredients, allowing people to make their own skincare at home in less than 15 minutes. So this is the picture of our first kit of ingredients, allowing people to make their own face moisturizer. So we know that every skin is unique, and this is why we design tailor-made recipes. So the way we do that is that we gather customer information about the skin characteristic and his lifestyle to push in the exact recipe, meaning that we send the exact ingredients in the exact amount so that we make the process, the DIY process, super easy for him. And what's really important for us also is that this way we can follow the customer skin progress, and we are able to adapt the recipe over time to keep providing the exact recipe that suits best our customers' need. So we aim at selling at Kelly, who is 25 years old and who recently shifted to a more sustainable way of living, and she's trying to cut his meat consumption, for example, and she's thinking about looking for something in the beauty industry that is cleaner than the solution that exists out there. So we will sell directly to consumer on our own website, and we plan to switch to a subscription model. So our go-to-market plan has been a little bit twisted due to the coronavirus situation. But what we do know for sure is that the customer we target find their information about cosmetics through friends, first of all, and through social media. So these two parts will be actively working on this, and we've already been working on social media and especially focusing on Instagram. And also, we didn't want to wait the end of the crisis to launch our product. So we launched it through a crowdfunding campaign that we launched on Monday that is still live, by the way. So about the market, we're entering the US beauty and personal care market, which has a really slow growth of 2%. But what's really important to see there is that the growth of this industry is driven by the growth of the natural and organic skincare market. And the DIY is also a big player and has big potential to and has a high growth that can be really interesting for us as an opportunity. So about the competitive landscape, we will compete with brands like Urology or SkinShift that focus on personalization, but that don't use any organic ingredients and are not transparent about the ingredients they use. And we will also be competing against more traditional DIY brands you see in the bottom right corner that just send the ingredients, and the customer has to go through all the research and the process of making the skincare itself is quite difficult. So about us, we're two French students here at us to finish our graduate studies, and we both worked in a cosmetic industry in different missions, and we realized that there had to be a better way to just produce skincare. So we're not looking to raise any venture capital money for now, because our product isn't live yet. It will be live in June through our e-commerce website. So for now, we're just looking for advice and connection in the industry. So thank you so much, and we're happy to answer any question. And the cream is done.
Are you making the product right there? What's going on?
Yeah, we're making it. We made it in this.
What have you actually made so far?
Sorry?
What products have you actually made so far?
It's a face moisturizer.
Moisturizer.
Moisturizer cream, yes.
I thought you were doing cosmetics.
I mean, the cosmetics is the whole industry, and skincare is part of the cosmetic industry.
Okay, so you're going after skincare or cosmetics or both?
For now, skincare, and we plan to extend, but at a later stage into other beauty products.
I think you guys missed an opportunity to toot your own horns. I quickly looked at your Indiegogo page, and I see that you guys are 109% subscribed. So that's looks like you kind of crushed it on Indiegogo.
Thank you. It's we've been working on this from home, and we're really happy that people reacted well. Yeah.
Do you anticipate positive unit economics from day one? Is that part of not seeking funding?
Yeah, so we are launching our e-commerce website in mid of June, and we are already gaining some visibility through our crowdfunding campaign, and we expect to make some sales beginning of June, and to make a profit from day one. Yes.
So I didn't really figure out from your pitch, but I'm looking at your Indiegogo site. This is make it yourself at home, right?
Okay.
And how many other companies are on the market with these make it yourself at home, all organic from that?
So there are a few competitors that are doing same thing, the DIY kits of ingredients. But we tested it, and they send you a whole kit with a lot of recipes in it, and a lot of product that you may not use. So we differentiate from them because we use products that actually works for you. We select the product that actually works for you, and we send you the right amount and right ingredients, so nothing is wasted or left on the shelf for years or months.
So how do you know it works for the customer? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, so the way we do, for example, to be precise, for moisturizer, we have 6 ingredients, and depending on the skin type of the person, depending on the beauty goal, if someone tells us, I want to just boost the firmness of my skin, and I have dry skin, I know which oil is best suitable for him. So this is not done yet, but we are developing a model that will automate all the recipe making.
So you use a questionnaire to figure out what they want. Is that right?
No, I mean, we can do it now because we did all the research ourselves, and we scrapped a few trusted sources to have all the information about the oils and the other ingredients. So we can now push the recipe. Yeah, the customers, they fill a survey online on our website.
Okay, thank you very much. Time's up. Let's go with Hemostat now.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Dhara Mehta, and I'm a student, an MBA student at Haas, and I would like to introduce StEP, Redefining Influencer Engagement. Social media influencer market is inching towards $10 billion in 2020, which is more than twice than it was just 2 years ago. And with this growing market, there is a need for the influencers to be more and more impactful as the space gets more crowded. Now, with the COVID effect, this number might actually be lower in 2020, but the industry is more important now than ever, with social media engagement actually rising to as much as 40% higher since the lockdown. So what are the problem for influencers? Engaging with followers, which includes replying to their comments, answering their questions, liking their comments, etc., is very important for influencers for two reasons. One is to maintain popularity and increase traction amongst their fans. And second is platforms like Instagram actually promote the post of influencers who engage more on their posts. And yet this engagement consumes a lot of the influencers' time. Our research indicates that they spend up to 2 hours per post after content creation. And the data is so unstructured that they still don't have an idea about the overall sentiment or reaction that the post has invoked. And as the influencer grows its follower size, then the engagement gets more and more difficult, as this table on the left indicate. The more the followers, the lesser the engagement rate. So here's the solution. So there is an influencer post here who has about 90 comments on there. MStat takes in all the data from this post and does contextual mining on it and generates a report which would tell the influencer about the overall sentiment that's generated. Furthermore, it will classify the comments into clusters of dominant themes. For instance, 10 followers complimented you on your dress. And the influencer can then reply to all those 10 comments from our platform, reducing the time required to engage. And with all the historical data that we have about the influencer, we will then give them suggestions on how they can craft their future posts based on what's worked for them in the past and what's not worked for them. And we take all the subjective information and come up with an emo score that would take into account the quality of engagement they have with their fans. The value proposition for the influencers is improved relationship with followers. That's required because they are their clients. The emo score that we generate would help them market themselves to the brands. And an improved engagement rate and a good emo score would give them the ability to charge the brands more to promote their products. On the other hand, we have the brands. More than 50% of brands have reported that the biggest issue in hiring influencers is finding influencers with authentic engagement and organic following. And authentic engagement is required because they want influencers who have fans who trust them. And especially when everything moves virtual and the marketing budgets tighten, they need to make sure that they're making the right investment in marketing. The solution is the emo score that I explained earlier. We would have this emo score for all the influencers on our platform. And this emo score, we would rank all the influencers based on emo score and share the data with the brands who can then select the right influencer for their campaign. The value proposition is they save time and money in finding the right influencer to do their marketing, a better consumer reach, which results to more brand awareness for their brand, and also an increased marketing ROI.
On the market size, with almost an $8 billion total available market, focusing on micro-influencers, we're looking at a serviceable, obtainable market of $675 million. Here we have a partial view of the competitive landscape. We can see that there are companies that focus on value brands and mega influencers, and there are other companies that focus on the individual value for the micro-influencers. So for brands, for value to brands and value to micro-influencers, EvoStat does both of these things on a very high level. The competitive advantage. For influencers, it's more than just analytics. They have actionable ways to increase engagement, the ability to market themselves. For brands, they have the ability to choose influencers based on metric deeper than just engagement rate, based on collected data. This is the EvoStat team. It has a wide area of expertise, including engineering, marketing, data analytics, and finance, the best suited for this product. We are EvoStat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Judges?
Have you built the platform? Have you built anything yet? Have any influencers tried it? Have you run anything through it?
We have not yet built the platform. It's under the makes. The coding has already started, but we have talked to a lot of influencers, and we have data on whether they would like the product or not, and that shows a very positive. We have a very positive response.
How do you know the score works?
We are developing an algorithm that would make the subjective information into a numeric information that the brands can use to find influencers. And the score would work because currently all the competitors actually use engagement rate, which is based on just numerical data, that is number of comments per follower. And that does not actually tell them about what they're engaging, whether there is any positive sentiment, whether whether they trust their influencers. So we plan to bring this sort of the soft areas, the sentiment area, into a score that would bring that would be deeper than just numbers. So we believe that it would work, and we have spoken to people in the influencer market and also teachers of influencers, and they believe that this is a gap in the market.
How do you build this business, right? Do you have to go out and market this to every single micro influencer that's out there?
Our go-to-market plan is going to be, we are going to target micro influencers, and we have a set of email addresses that we have interviewed who are willing to try our product for the first time. We've also partnered with Shane Barker, who is a social media influencer consultant, and he has lots of influencers on his platform who he's going to recommend our product to. So that's going to be our starting strategy. But the advantage that we have is influencers are very socially active, and they talk to one another through a lot of channels. So once we have one person or maybe 50 people who like our product, there would be a huge word of mouth and it would spread. But we are also planning to do marketing over social media itself. So advertising on Instagram, Facebook, and all other social media platforms.
Thank you so much. Deep Red Technologies.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me? Okay, is the screen on?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool, awesome. Hi, we are Deep Red Technologies, and we are going to revolutionize thermal imaging with new materials technology. So there are many chips in our daily lives, phones, tablets, computers. There are chips everywhere among us. And it takes a chip designer over about 2 to 3 years of time for them to design such a tiny chip that can serve so many functions. So when they're designing chips, they will encounter many problems, and it takes a long time for them to locate where the problem is. So the current solution is they will use a regular thermal imaging tool for them to locate where the problem is. By looking at the thermal image, they will try to locate where the problem is. However, this is not a consistent method. Using our product, Deep Red Thin Film, we will be able to provide a much better thermal image for the chip designers to locate where the problem is. So on average, it will save chip designers 20% of time. Our core technology is the Deep Red Thin Film, which is a cutting-edge materials engineering in UC Berkeley. It's very easy to use. It's just like a Scotch tape. And it's compatible with any thermal camera. So there's no existing direct competitor at all, because we're the first one in the world to provide this kind of service for thermal camera. The market size, the total available market is really huge, but we're only targeting the areas where the chips will be that will need very high sensitivity to locate where the chip problems are. On average, thermal camera costs about $20,000 to $80,000, and our cost of the film is really low. And the film can be used for many times, so it's definitely worth buying for chip designers to purchase to enhance the probability of locating where the chip problems are. So this is our business model. We are not manufacturing and we are not doing marketing. We are only doing the engineering work. We get the manufacturing work to the OEM and let them provide the products to thermal camera manufacturers. And the thermal camera manufacturers will use their marketing and branding using their big brands to sell the products to the chip designers. So we will use them as a very important channel in our supply chain. So this is just a brief look of how great we can enhance the sensitivity of the thermal imaging. So we're we're providing a much better sensitivity and in a very low cost. We have 3 co-founders. I'm the CEO, and we also have 2 excellent material science researchers, which will be responsible for the technology development part, and I'll be focusing on the business part of the company. There are also many other applications, but right now we really want to focus on the IC, the integrated circuits application, because this will have the shortest time to market and it will have the biggest impact right now. So the timeline is because of the COVID-19, we couldn't do further R&D in the last 2 months, but we will try to get our patent filed in the next 2 months. And then at the end of the year, we hope that we can sell our first product. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, what was your first application again?
You mean, yes, yes, breast cancer screening was the first one we were exploring at the beginning, but we think that it might take too long for us to develop something that can be approved by FDA and something that can compete with the current mammography method. And we'll do it eventually, but this is just not the first market we're going to pursue.
Then what is, or do you know yet?
Oh, so yeah, so we are trying to
just thermal imaging. Okay.
Yeah. So we're trying to solve the problem of chip designers wasting too much time in locating chip designing problems. So using our method, we can help them using we'll provide a much better thermal image. So it saves them 20% of time in locating where the problem is.
Okay. Just general chip design or anything more specific?
It's applicable for any chips, but more there are some chips that needs this tool more than the other chips. We're still talking to chip designers around the world and see what kind of chips will be more like our products more. So we are actually in the National iCourse program. We're interviewing a lot of chip designers around the world and see who will be interested in our products.
How do you plan to acquire customers?
So actually, there will be an existing customer relationship between the thermal camera manufacturers and the chip designers. So we'll use them as a channel to reach our chip designers. We'll provide the products to the thermal camera manufacturers, and they'll tell the chip designers how good the performance can be enhanced and how much time they can save by using our products.
And the plan is that they will use it on a recurring basis since it's priced per use?
Yes.
Can you walk us through that? Like when you first started the presentation, I actually thought you were coating the chip with this film that allows you to detect inefficiencies or flaws in the chip, right? So
yeah.
What is the cost per use, right? Like if someone's developing a chip, how many times do they test the chip for flaws using your film?
Okay, so this is actually just like a tape that you can just put it on top of the chip every time you want to examine what the problem is with the chip. So the cost of the film is about $10 and we'll sell it for $30. It can be used for many times. So in the case that they don't want to use it for many times, then it's $30 per use. So it can be actually used for several times if the situation is allowed.
I think everyone's asking the same question, right? Like, how does a single use $30 turn into $1 billion company, right? Like, how many uses can you get out of a chip development program, right? Like, can you quantify that for us?
So because in a chip designing company, they will actually use it for many times, or in a single, for them to design a single chip. I don't have a real number, but for one design cycle for one chip, it would take them about 40 times to use to go over the whole inspection cycle.
How did you come to choose this application above the longer list of other applications you looked at?
So this is actually the technology that we are most confident in enhancing the sensitivity of thermal imaging. For the other applications, because we still need further research in terms of medical or like other aspects that we still need to do more further research. But we already have a very confident result. Like here, like we can enhance the thermal imaging sensitivity by 15 times, which is very amazing compared to the current solution.
All right, if there are no more questions, then we go with our last team. Thank you so much, the Red Technologies. Capacity, IO.
Great.
So, do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Red, you should stop screening, sharing your screen. Now we see it.
Now you see mine.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Hi, I'm Sonia from Capacity.io, an energy efficiency service company for the built environment. We're on a mission to increase energy efficiency globally with the goal of CO2 neutrality in the built environment. And this is rather important because buildings are consuming 40% of global energy consumption. And because the building industry is rather conservative, there is a huge untapped potential in intelligent building control. So thereby we can decrease operational expenditures and eventually CO2 emissions. So energy efficiency basically means using less energy to perform the same task, but we're also adding smartness into it. So we're turning buildings as flexible virtual batteries. It's like a Tesla Powerwall, but you have it already in your home in terms of the building structures. We have developed a machine learning algorithm which is optimizing and controlling buildings as one single unit. This unit is traded in the power market, which is basically a place which is rewarding for balancing electricity's supply and demand. Our system is designed so that occupants are all the time feeling well in the building. And that is also our unique selling point. So we're creating the best thermal environment in buildings while performing power market trading. In our go-to-market strategy, we want to access buildings through heat pump manufacturers. We chose heat pumps because they are an unserved yet rapidly growing market. Today, there are 2.6 million homes in the United States which could benefit from our technology. But looking a little bit further, the global energy efficiency investment market is immense. So last year alone, it was $140 billion. And we're targeting a market share of $1 billion, which is a part of smart heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment globally. And now to our business model. So our customers are building asset managers, which are having large residential buildings. And these asset managers are always getting from our technology energy savings and also better occupant well-being, which can be monetized by improved productivity. The building manager gets also, or the building asset manager gets also additional revenue through power market trading, and that is where we are getting also our share of. So we're taking 30% of each additional revenue dollar generated. We have met each other in 2011, and we are 3 engineers who are passionate about building science and energy systems. Our technology has emerged from PhD level research conducted by 2 of our team members. this year, we started piloting in the UK and in Finland, and we found out that we can get 10% of energy efficiency gains in the piloted buildings. So now we're targeting to raise 500K in summer 2020, and with that, we want to start piloting with first paying customers in autumn 2020, and we have already 4 agreements for that. We'll be building our proof of concept early next year with 2 apartment buildings, and we are ready to scale the company in about 16 months. In order to break even, we need in total 60 apartment buildings. So if you're interested, shoot me an email or visit capacity.io. Thank you.
So you make a software platform?
Yes.
And who uses it? And how do you quantify the savings or the additional revenue rather?
The software platform is optimizing the building energy consumption, and it is aggregating it into 1 unit, which is then offered to power market traders. So we by ourselves are not the traders, but we are collaborating with existing market players.
When you say optimize the energy consumption, does that mean integration with thermostat? Does that can you go a little bit deeper on what the use cases are?
Yes, so we're using the heat pumps for the energy efficiency part. So basically, we are steering the circulating water temperature of the heat pumps, and through environmental sensors, we can, for example, predict what the indoor temperature will be in the near future and control the heat pumps according to that.
What's the point of linking up other buildings to this? Why can't it be done on a per building basis?
Because the electricity market is so large that you need rather large units in order to be able to trade in the market.
How do you plan on getting the building operators onto the network?
The building operators will gain 3 different things. So that is the energy efficiency part, which is also always associated with less operational costs. It's also increasing value of the building in terms of having occupants who are feeling better in those buildings. And the third is generating additional revenue. So by having this, the thing is that they're having already the existing buildings, and they are having already the heat pumps installed in the buildings. So what we are doing is only adding some smartness into the heat pumps.
What I meant is, how are you going to reach them? How are you going to acquire them?
We are collaborating first with heat pump manufacturers, and they are offering us already their customers. So we are seeing the heat pump manufacturers also as channels to get to the customers. And we want to go to large building owners in order to have professionals who are dealing with the buildings, and also having a large building stock behind them.
And you have some pilots ongoing right now in Europe, I believe you said. Are those generating any revenue for you?
No, not currently. They are more or less like proof of technology.
And how do you track the additional revenue so that you can attach your business model to that?
So that is going through the interface with the power market traders. Okay. So we are there in the middleman, and we are taking our share of that.
It sounds like this might be regional or greatly impacted by local markets or regulations. How does this...
Yes, it is rather regional, but the regions are pretty large. So in California, for instance, there's one market for that. So by collaborating or in doing collaboration with the Californian independent system operator, we get basically we can manage all buildings in California.
You had said that there's in the pilot you're doing in the UK, you have about a 10% energy efficiency gain. Mm-hmm. Is that enough of a business case for the property owners to pursue this if you're taking a 30% commission off of the trades?
We're not taking from the energy efficiency part anything, so we're generating additional revenue, and that is what we are getting. So the building owner is already getting the energy efficiency part, and largely we are not pursuing that in our first like in our go-to-market. Because then we need to have an energy service company model where we pay first where we pay all the energy consumed in the building and taking a share of that. But that's not our business model at the beginning. We want to make it as simple as possible for the building owner to take this technology, and because this technology, what we are going after, so the heat pumps are growing so rapidly, we're seeing a possibility of positioning ourselves in a fast-growing market, and eventually having a economics of scale and generating therefore or through that our revenue, our profit.
Awesome, thank you so much, Sonia. So now we're gonna go to a 15-minute break for the general audience, and judges, we're gonna go to a breakout room. So France.
Yes. Okay, hello everybody, and thanks for waiting. So let me share my screen. Actually, we have decided, or the judges have decided. So let me share my screen. 1 second. Okay.
Okay, before Francesco, while you share the screen, we want to thank everybody, every single startup for everything you have done in this semester. As I say before, given the unusual conditions, you really shown resilience, and that is really admirable. So a palm in the back for that. Do I keep going? I go.
We can spend all the night praising, yeah, all your effort. Actually, it's been amazing. So, so before announcing the winner, I think it's important. It's important for us to, say thank you for our sponsors, and say thank you for all the judges that have been, spend their time here with us today. And it was a pleasure for us to have them with us tonight. So what I'm going to announce, those are the startups that joined tonight. So again, I'm going to just say the thank you that Santi already said. It was amazing to work with you all. Actually, a great pleasure. It's going to get a little bit emotional for me tonight, actually. But so we're going to move to the next slide. Those are the awards for tonight. So we actually realized the pool on YouTube. So we're going to have an audience award. We're going to have a third place, a second place, and a first place, according to what the judges have decided for the first 3 positions. So let's start with the audience award. So the winners of the audience award, according to more than 200 votes, where we have collected from YouTube, is Hemostat. So thank you, Hemostat. Great, congratulations. So you're authorized to say something. It's so the third place instead. So the first 3 places have been really close. The third place for tonight, for the 3rd edition of StEP, is okay. So sorry, there is a problem. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm showing the wrong one. Sorry. Okay.
Come on, man, you're building up the tension. This is not fair.
Okay, let's see if now we can work. So the audience award goes to Hemostat again. The third place goes to Mela. So congratulations to Mela and thank you. So let's now move to the first 2 positions. Was really tough to decide. Actually, 2 amazing team, great contribution, great commitment throughout StEP. So the second place goes to Deep Red Technologies. And the first place we are, wow, yes. Okay, so for the first place,
so
we have kept a great team.
The secret prize Francesca?
Yeah, and there is a surprise. So the first place, so thank you for our sponsor again. Thank you for our sponsor. The first place will receive $1,000 just as a prize for being the first. So the first place of the third edition of STEP goes to Capacity. Congratulations. You can say something, Sonia.
Wow. Thank you so much, Francesco, Santi, the whole team. Wow, I'm a little bit speechless. I didn't expect this. All those companies were so great. I was really enjoying the whole pitching night. So thank you a lot.
Great, congratulations. Huh?
Congratulations.
Okay,
Awesome.
so Santi, you're the great guy. You're the one that can close this in the best way possible, I think.
Well, now again, thank you for the judges. Thank you for the team that has been working a lot. Thank you for the STEP coaches. Thank you, Francesco, again for everything. And a special thank you for all the startups that without you this would not be possible. So go out, enjoy the night, and well, see you next year.
Great job, everybody. Really enjoyed hearing pitches. Great job.
Yeah, great work. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the experience. Nice
All
work.
right. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Blue Minotaurs.
Go Andre.
Go Andre. Thank you, Andre.
You're welcome, guys. You're awesome. You deserve it. And congrats to everyone for making it this far.
Well done, guys. Congrats. Congratulations, Sonia. Well done.
Congratulations, Sonia.
That's
Well
amazing. Man, okay.
No, we were no, actually the funny thing was basically
Stop the recording.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, okay. No,
O comunque parliamo in italiano così nessuno capisce.
Sonia, the funny thing is when we communicated the name of the 10 finalists, actually Andre was, so like your name was different, like because your original name was Mukawa and then you asked us to change your name. Hey Brett.
Hey, just wanted to say
thank you very much for joining. Thank you. So, and when
good luck everybody. Good job.
Basically your coach didn't know that your name was changing to Capacity.
Yeah.
So he sent me a message saying, okay, but why Mukawa is in the least?
Siamo ancora live, però.
That's fine.
Franci, siamo ancora live, no?
Okay, 1 second. I will